The Central Bank of Nigeria has lifted restrictions on importers of 43 items previously restricted by the 2015 circular and its addendums, and has not allowed them to purchase foreign exchange in the Nigerian market. CBN said that it would continue to promote orderliness and professional conduct by all participants in the Nigerian foreign exchange market to ensure market forces determine exchange rates on the willing buyer, willing seller principle. The CBN reiterated that the prevailing forex rates should be referenced from platforms such as the CBN website, FMDQ, and other recognized or appointed trading systems to promote a price discovery, transparency, and credibility in the FX rate. To talk more on this, I'm being joined by Chief Executive Officer of Economics Associates, Dr. Teriba. Dr. Teriba, it's good to have you on the program. Good afternoon. We appreciate your time. Okay, now let me ask you, before I go to the directive by the CBN, how did we get here? Issues regarding our FX market. After banning 43 items, at the end of the day, we are coming back to revert that. Yes, that's on one side. On the other side, as of today, the dollar to the naira is trading in some cases at above 1,000 naira. How did we get to this point before we now get to what can be done to address this challenge?
Yeah, when the Central Bank of Nigeria embarked on this journey in 2015, many well-meaning analysts and observers, commentators warned the central bank against the list. That it was arbitrary, it was repressive. And well, it's similar to publishing amounts that people can withdraw from their accounts that the central bank did again under the last regime when they were doing currency redesign. You do not unduly infringe on people's rights, to transact. Foreign exchange trading is not a gift. Government is not giving them money. They are exchange. It's an exchange, and the parties to exchanges, as long as they part with the equivalent naira sum, the items, all the items, 43 items on the list, are legitimate. They are not contrabands. And the central bank has no power under the law to outlaw things that the National Assembly has not declared as contraband. So they were acting beyond, the confines of the powers given them by the CBN Act. And it is only right that the new regime in the central bank do away with the list without any conversation. No conversation around the list is necessary. It's unfair. It's an infringement on the rights of businesses. But the regime that left the scene in the last month or so, never think twice about infringing on people's rights. So I'm happy that one of the first statements coming out of the Cardozo-led central bank board is that the list has been done away with. So the foreign exchange market accommodates all legitimate transactions. You can't say some are approved, some are not. And I hope that they don't stop there, because that's one of the major reasons why there existed other segments in the market. They were driving legitimate transactions out of the official market, and they were driving them underground. And that creates, the price differential. It widens the price differential. The other one is that the outgone regime discriminated in favor of banks against bureau de change. And bureau de change were licensed by government, licensed by the CBN to trade forex. And banks are licensed to mobilize deposits and process payments. So you can hound BDCs out of the system to favor banks and expect there to be competitiveness in foreign exchange pricing. So I hope that the logical next step that will be taken by the Cardozo-led board will be to demonstrate to all that BDCs that were the creation of government are fully accommodated and allowed to play the role that their licenses oblige them to play. without, any favoritism for banks against them. The playing field must be level. You can only get competition that will make the naira strengthen through competition. And I hope that we'll see the central bank moving in this direction. To respond to your question about the 43 items, I will want to pause there.
Interesting start, as usual. Great insight into the subject matter. I want to ask you, Dr. Teriba, the CBN says it will continue to support this market from time to time. And as liquidity increases, maybe they will pull out. How sustainable is this in your thoughts?
The statement that the 43 items, the list of 43 items has been abrogated is welcome. CBN has essentially two policy options open to it, open mouth policy and open market policies. So this announcement about lease, announcement about telling us they will consult stakeholders and the rest of it, they're exercising, their option of open mouth policy. Now, intervention is not in the realm of open mouth policy. Demonstrate that you have the capacity to do it. So it's the two options are analogous to backing and biting. So you've demonstrated the power to back. You need to demonstrate as soon as possible the power to bite. It wasn't that the regime that left there weren't willing to intervene, but they were unable to intervene. They have seen a buildup of backlogs of unmet demand. The whole world knows, how much, they have an idea of how much is owed, to banks. How much is owed of that, You don't need to tell us that you want to intervene. You should demonstrate that you have the capacity to intervene and that you have the capacity to do so effectively. Nobody is going to hurry the new regime. They'll be given time to settle in. The average Nigerian is aware of the extent of rot that has been left in the central bank internally, in the banking system and in the macroeconomy, by the last regime. So nobody is going to be in a haste. They'll probably give, the new regime some more time to come out, to build the capacity to intervene. But we all love to see them, intervening sooner rather than later. And the only time that the intervention will be considered effective is when the gap between the rates in the market begin to narrow. A central bank needs to close that gap, and you need to clear all the backlogs. You need to meet all the unmet demand for the gap to close. And after the gap closes, another measure of effectiveness is that you have to recover some of the grounds that has been lost. For example, by the official exchange rate that has moved from less than 500 to less than 800 now, after closing the gap between the official rate that has moved from less than 800 to above 1,000 now. So yes, it's encouraging to hear that they have announced, repealing the list of 43 items, but we are expecting more than announcing that we intervene. We're actually expecting intervention. And the sooner the central bank begins to bite, and let blood, as in seize the initiative in the foreign exchange market and stabilize the naira, the better for. I'll pause there.
The CBN is also saying that they are committed to clearing the backlog. I'm interested in this. We know what's happening with the airlines, and international airlines not being able to repatriate funds, even some trading at the stock market not being able to move funds out of the country. So clearing these backlogs will be an interesting development. How do you see them wading through this too, Dr. Teriba?
Well, the acting governor that left a few weeks ago, that resigned, as we were told a few weeks ago, did say he was going to clear the backlog in 2 weeks. But before the 2 weeks expired, he had resigned. So we don't need the new regime to tell us that they will clear the backlog. We need to see them clear the backlog. And it is not for you to ask me how they are going to clear the backlog. It is for them to let us know how they are going to clear the backlog. They have access to information that we do not have. And this is going to be a cardinal performance indicator for them. The eyes of the world are on, not just on the foreign exchange market, and it makes people, restless when they see the naira losing value, and it's not for, it's justified because people's wealth are directly exposed to devaluation risks, and all other prices domestically, from airline tickets to pump prices of petroleum products to consumer prices to even electricity bid, all prices are tethered to the exchange rate. If you continue to have devaluation, then you can't bring inflation down. Even if the central bank were to raise its monetary policy rate to 100%, it's now at 20.5%. When 19.5 plus they call it a margin of 1. Inflation will not come down. So you need to stabilize one key variable that you must stabilize. And part of that responsibility to stabilize the exchange rate is not limited to the central bank. It's shared by the country. Exchange rate is a sovereign issue. And I'm happy that the president has taken responsibility for seeking and attracting foreign direct investment. And he has not only, said that, along with, his coordinating minister for the economy, is telling us that they are not seeking to borrow money, they are seeking to raise equity investment externally and domestically. And they have not only stated it, they have actually started matching, their talk with action. Even that, in the past 6 weeks or so, they've managed to get commitments of more than 14 billion US dollars in foreign direct investment from one country alone. And if the president could deliver, 5 more of such, as he makes his trips or as he receives investors, then we may be well out of the woods sooner or later. You can't leave the responsibility for generating foreign direct investment to the central bank. It's a responsibility of the government, although the central bank is the banker to the government and the financial advisor to the government. So if the government continues to cover those grounds, the moment we have reserve adequacy, the central bank will gain the capacity to control monetary policy more effectively. Until the exchange rate is stable, I'm afraid they won't have that capacity.
Now, stability of the financial sector is also very important because that gives confidence also to investors. So it's going to be a two-in-one question. Where do you expect the CBN to intervene in aside this? The last time we saw them in the agricultural sector, in the creative sector, pharmaceutical sector, almost everywhere, the CBN kept intervening. So what sort of interventions are you looking at with the Dr. Cardoso-led management team, and what is your take with regards to the present state of the financial sector, banking industry as a whole? Stability.
All right. Okay. The macroeconomic environment has 3 layers, 3 important layers. Only one is the responsibility of the central bank, and that's monetary policy. Short-term management of the demand and supply of liquidity. That's the only one that is the responsibility of monetary policy, CBN. I have said that the first and most important layer of macroeconomic stability is external stability, is foreign exchange stability, and it comes down to foreign reserve adequacy. Do you have enough foreign exchange reserves to meet legitimate demands for foreign exchange, or do you not? If you don't, your currency will be devalued, will weaken, and there's nothing the central bank can do about it. If you do, your currency will be stable or strengthen, and the central bank can reap benefits, the rest of the economy can reap benefits. You don't expect internal stability in the face of external instability. So, as urgent as tomorrow, Nigeria needs to find a path to a stable exchange rate. If you want to declare a state of emergency, it calls for more than that. And once you deal with that layer, the second layer is the fiscal stability. So monetary policy is only the third layer. Just like in the absence of foreign exchange stability, you can't be talking of monetary policy or stability of financial variables. In the absence of fiscal stability, you can't be talking of monetary stability. There's what economists refer to as fiscal dominance. That unless the fiscal situation is stable, the government will infringe upon, stability of the monetary space, as they did in the past 80 years, when we learned after the fact that they borrowed in excess of 20 trillion. While the then regime in the central bank was tightening the nose on the rest of the economy. They had raised CRRs to 32.5% cash reserve requirement. They have raised money by the time they left. Monetary policy rate was 19.5% plus 1. So you see 32.5% of the deposits mobilized by banks, and you are offering them to lend them your own money at 20.5%. It's strangulating. Yet, it was warranted because of the money they lent to fund the fiscal inadequacy. So I'm saying country takes responsibility for foreign exchange stability. The Ministry of Finance, along with all the economic ministries, spearheaded by the coordinating minister for the economy, take responsibility for the fiscal stability and make sure that fiscal difficulties don't spill over into the monetary space. If, for example, we have found a path to taking the 22 trillion ways and means out of the books of the central bank will be in a position to ease the CRR. Most countries around the world, CRR is 0. There's no way you ask banks to mobilize deposits and you take it from them. And you now say you are intervening, you are giving loan that banks could have given. You take it from them at 0 interest, you want to lend them your money at 20%. So central bank created the problem by strangulating credit supply in the first place. So it's all hypocritical telling me, you've seized, the trillions of money that could have been loaned, and you are dropping pittance and say that you are. So central banks should move out of those intervention funds. Is encroaching into the fiscal space. Let the ministries, let the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Industry, the Ministry of Trade do fiscal interventions, and you concentrate on, beating, the cash reserve requirement down and lowering monetary policy rates to, give access to more credit at lower interest rates to everybody who seeks it. My view.
Very interesting conversation. Dr. Teriba, we thank you so much for your time. Let me add that he is a member, Governing Council, Ministry of Finance Incorporated. He's the CEO, Economic Associates, EA. Thank you so much, Dr. Teriba. Have a great weekend.
Thank you very much.